Hi, I'm Patty Barr, and this is Anna. And
Oh,
we're going to talk to you today about employment. And I'm from ICATER, which is the Iowa Center for Assistive Technology, Education and Research. We're here in the College of Education. And this project is funded through the UCED, University Center of Excellence for Developmental Disabilities. Whew, that's even harder than ICATER, the Iowa Center for Assistive Technology, Education and Research. But we want to just have some time with Anna to talk about barriers to employment, what things help with employment, and but let's just start out with, tell us something about yourself. What are things you like? What don't you like? What are your work aspirations?
I don't like pickles.
Dill or sweet?
Sweet pickles are okay, but dill pickles, when they come on your plate and they've
They
changed the
put
taste of
vinegar
your,
on
it
everything
just
else?
ruins the taste of your food. I'm sure that's very important to life that everyone knows I don't like pickles. I'm a doctoral student here at the university. I would say one of my goals in life is to work with one of the talent search organizations across the country. So probably limit some of my opportunities. So it'll be interesting to see where I end up in the next several years if I finish my degree, which would be the goal.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
I hope I will. I like working with people. I like working with kids. I've worked for the YMCA in various places across Iowa for the last 21 years this fall. I'm currently a coach for Special Olympics of Iowa, and our state games are coming up this weekend. So I'm very excited to see my athletes succeed.
Wow.
And hopefully bring home,
Mostly swimmers?
I work with swimmers mainly. It's probably the only sport that I have enough knowledge to be a coach in. So hopefully I bring home my athletes bring home some medals this weekend.
Wow, that's exciting.
So it is. I have some pretty amazing athletes, and one of my athletes will be going to the U.S. National Games in July. So we're training pretty seriously at this stage.
That's exciting. You also have some history with teaching, don't you?
Yes, I taught middle school and high school mathematics for about 10 years in both rural and as urban as you can get in the state of Iowa schools. Both working with special needs students and gifted students. So I've seen a range of student abilities.
What have you seen as barriers in the work environment?
Over several years while I was teaching, I started developing some health conditions and some various medical conditions that just made things a little bit more challenging for me. I have a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it's a genetic protein disorder that affects my body in various ways. So some days I'm physically in a lot more pain. So this morning I woke up and my wrist was in a lot of pain. And so that would cause some difficulties for me typing or sitting at a workstation or doing other physical tasks.
And some people have a hard time getting to work. Some people have difficulty coming to work on a regular basis.
So yes, I guess in some cases, if my pain would be too great, early mornings are tougher for me because medication hasn't kicked in that would make things work easier. Depending on ergonomic situations, my supervisor helped me find a desk chair that would be more supportive. So I have a desk chair that supports my arms, my neck, my shoulders, and my back a lot better. I have a stool underneath my desk that lifts my feet up that helps maintain blood flow and increases blood pressure to what's an appropriate level for my body. I have my computer situated at a level that doesn't require me to hunch over, doesn't cause problems with my neck and my back. Although at times I will also moved to like a standing desk situation, which can help with other situations. So really, the situation is that I need to be flexible in my workstation. So having the ability to move from sitting to standing or something in between is really what's beneficial for me.
So let's talk a little bit more about that workstation. Would a workstation where you have to crank the desk up, would that work for you? Or would something that it's a light touch to electrically move a desk up and down?
If I physically had to crank the desk up, that would be that would be a large issue for me, because a lot of my physical abilities or my physical issues are actually with my hands. For a while, one semester, I had lost the majority of the use of my hands, and so I was actually using voice dictation software, which iCater actually helped me access. So a light touch situation would be easier, just being able to lift up the computer monitor itself, or being able to move the entire workstation with a light touch would be something very useful.
How about things like flexible deadlines, flexible work schedules? Is that something?
Flexibility is very important to me. If my blood pressure isn't at an acceptable level, I may be able to carry on a conversation, but the cognition aspect is not always there. So I may be able to go home and work from home at 7 p.m. at night. I may be able to put in, 15 hours on the weekend and be able to get projects done. Mm-hmm. But I may be sitting at my desk and feeling like a zombie and not understand and not be able to work. So I could be sitting at work and getting nothing done. But if you allowed me the opportunity to go home and rest when I needed to, and then be able to get my work done when I felt up to par, mm-hmm. having that flexibility would be a significant bonus for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For a lot of us, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're saying that sometimes your blood pressure goes really low. Is
Correct.
That what you're saying?
I have extremely dangerously low blood pressure to the point that sometimes I can't walk upstairs because the chances of passing out are extremely high. But then, 2 hours later, when medication is kicked in, I'm reasonably fine. Mm-hmm. And it can make a difference within hours sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And then you also mentioned that your condition causes you pain. Mm-hmm. And what is it that's causing that pain?
Sometimes they don't necessarily know what the causes are from, but because the collagen in my body is faulty, my ligaments and tendons don't work the way they're supposed to. In fact, they simply don't work, essentially. So in order to hold my joints in place, my body's muscles take up the slack. So for example, the muscles around my shoulder have to tighten up really, really hard in order to essentially hold the bones in place. And so I'm walking around with really, really tense muscles around my shoulder. And so that knotted bunch of muscles can cause pain and can cause tension. And so then if the muscles in your shoulder are all tight, sometimes that'll set off like a chain reaction. So if your shoulder's tight, that'll make, your abs tight, that'll make your neck tight. And so all of a sudden you've got this whole knotted mass of muscles, which can cause pain and tension. Mm-hmm. And there's other physiological responses in the body that can cause pain. Because of the tightness, you can accidentally tear muscles, you can accidentally tear ligaments and tendons, and those then don't heal in the regular fashion and the amount of time that they should. So it ends up causing a lot of chain reaction situations.
Mm-hmm. And so this affects the collagen all throughout your body.
Correct.
Right?
A significantly large portion of people with Ehlers-Danlos or EDS wear glasses because the structures in their eyes don't hold shape like they're supposed to. Mm-hmm. A number of people end up with hearing loss because the structures in their ears don't hold shape like they're supposed to. It
And your
becomes
blood pressure is low because of the
because the
collagen.
increased flexibility in my veins and arteries
Mhm,
don't hold shape like they're supposed to, and they're just extra stretchy,
mhm.
which for most people sounds like a good plan. But when it becomes so low that it's dangerous to the essential functioning of your body, it can become a problem. Some people aren't even able to maintain the ability to stand upright without passing out instantly. So it has some benefits. I'm probably never going to have high blood pressure problems. But it also just has things that you need to be aware of and be careful of. So, they recommend not playing contact sports, because if my shoulder's already at the point where it can fall out by rolling over in bed at night, I probably don't want to be, playing rugby.
Well, I don't know how many of us should be playing rugby anyway. Let's switch gears just a little bit. Tell me about some of your jewelry.
I have some very lovely custom-made rings that I wear every day. They're actually called ring splints. They are custom sized to my hands. The problem, again, with Ehlers-Danlos is that my joints can actually bend backwards in directions that they're not supposed to go.
No, I can't get it.
No, they're not supposed to go that way. I can take my hands in this position and then put my hands together behind my back in this prayer pose, which again, most people probably don't take their hands behind their back.
Only in yoga.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some yoga people can do this.
Yeah.
And
That's
some
hard.
people can get their fingers to their thumbs. I can take my hands and put them flat on the floor without bending my knees. I can actually get my hands to the step below one I'm standing on without a stretch. But it's because my ligaments and tendons, which are kind of like rubber bands that bounce back, are extra stretchy in my case. But the problem is after a while, that rubber band gets stretched too far and doesn't bounce back. So in order to support my joints and keep them from bending too far, these ring splints keep them from going too far, so that when I write, when I hold a pencil, my finger doesn't overextend with hypermobile placement. So
tell us about this pencil.
So originally, when I noticed my hands starting to get sore, I switched up to my first Ticonderoga. I love Dixon's, and that
Wait,
helped.
You got to say the whole thing.
My Dixon Ticonderoga #2 soft lead pencil.
That's it. Yes.
So my first Ticonderoga is the fatter pencil that we oftentimes recommend kindergartners or young children with less hand grip and hand strength would use. And so originally using the fatter pencil itself just helped. But as the damage to my hands increased, my occupational therapist gave me a wonderful fat hand grip. And this is a extremely fat hand grip. But between that and the ring splints, it keeps my fingers from hyperextending while writing and decreases the amount of pain that I had that first brought me to iCater and learning about using the voice activated software, so that I would be able to continue typing with the research papers that I write here at the university.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When we were talking earlier, you mentioned something about door handles.
I spent almost a semester and a half on a pair of crutches when I had tripped on a step and broken 3 bones and sprained my ankle, which most people probably would have just gotten up and shaken it off. And one of the things that was really helpful with that at that point in time was either handicapped push button doors or door handles that are the paddle handles. And with those, it's very helpful both for opening the door, because I can't necessarily grip and turn when I'm wearing braces. You can get them with an elbow, which is handy if you're carrying things. I was carrying a mug of tea that day and my hands were full. So it's helpful for anyone. So it's a situation of universal design for anyone, whether they're elderly with arthritis and don't have the gripping power, like I've got that situation right now, or your hands are full and you don't want to put down your cup of tea in order to open a door.
or service dogs. It's easier for service dogs to open doors
Oh.
with handles rather than knobs.
That
as
would be
well.
another example.
Mhm. So we should all have handles instead of knobs.
When I was an undergraduate, the building that I would go into for my math classes, everybody pushed the push button door. Nobody opened the door with the actual doorknob. Like
Mhm.
everybody just slapped the push button because it's an easy way to gain access to an entry point.
Mhm.
The door we have outside of the center here actually is a panel. So instead of just the single square plate, it's an entire panel. And I'm often very lazy and carrying tea that I don't want to put down. And so I often just nudge it with one of my feet, which again gives lots of different
hip.
people.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that one. May have to try that. So it gives many people access to it than just the standard, oh, this is for a wheelchair user. It can be for anyone to access, and it just opens up that universal design.
Mhm. What are some of the characteristics that would make you a great employee?
I'm really hardworking.
You are. Anna took my class, so yes.
And I'm really passionate about the things that I believe in.
Mhm.
And I really work hard I think I already said I'm hardworking.
Mhm.
I really work hard to look at things from different perspectives
Mhm.
to make sure that other things have been included. I'm fairly creative.
Basically, if you can have a job where there's some flexibility in it, a height adjustable desk,
Yep.
handles instead of doorknobs,
Yep.
allowing you to use some different pencils and some different jewelry.
Yes, like the jewelry.
You can be very productive.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
I think flexibility would be a good thing with any employee, though. I don't see how that kind of flexibility would take away from the workplace.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, I've got this fidget spinner here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were going to say something about that was to remind us about
Yes.
fidgets.
I've never used a fidget spinner or a fidget cube, but I've been known to fidget with my ring splints. So it's become its own fidget device.
Its own fidget spinner.
Yes. So I have a built-in fidget with my ring splints. It's kind of funny.
So I'm wondering if there are any questions from our audience.
Well, let me think for a second. Can you tell me, in your vocational experience, like in the work setting, what like your top 3 advice would be to our job coaches that support our kids with disabilities in those settings?
If students recognize that they are having a challenge, working with their employers to find ways to support them.
And I think one thing that I always like to say to employers is we talked about flexibility a lot, but you think about essential functions of jobs, and why can't those functions be broken up into more than one job so that we can match the the skills of our workers to the jobs that are available. And maybe it's not the whole job, maybe it's part of the job, but can we be flexible in that? And I think we need to be advocating for that with employers.
Thank you.